So you have to connect. Yeah. You connect the internet. Yeah. Hello. Hello, Madam Mary.
Hi.
How are you? Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yes, we are still
Nilikuwa
planning.
nakuulizia.
Yes.
Nilikuwa nakupigia kukuuliza kama chairman anakuja ama nitaendelea.
Yeah, anakuja. We have just talked with him.
So he will open.
Yes, he will.
Oh, sawa sawa.
Yeah, he's
Kwa hiyo
joining
yangu ni kuongea tu juu ya extension kidogo tu.
Actually, if you are able to see this program, you can see it.
Eh?
You can see the program.
Niko na program. Eh?
On the screen. Unaiona kwa screen?
Naona mumeweka nini kwa screen?
Okay, I want you to see it. This one 210 to 215 agriculture extension in Kenya in a nutshell. Yeah, so
nitaongea juu ya extension in Kenya, yeah?
Yeah, just in a nutshell for 5 minutes.
Oh, sawa sawa.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay.
Obo. Oh, okay. Unaona vile Zoom inadanganyanga watu. Down. Lakini from here. Because I'm supposed even to open the workshop. Unapenda hii ama hii red? Ikakana nini?
It's okay.
Haina stapler. You have stapler?
Does it work?
Lakini stapler dia haina. Staples. And I still have this one also.
That's a
The
big
newest. Kuna staples somewhere. You okay with that? Okay, sir. Okay. Karibu kwanza. Baka form. Sawa sawa.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Peter Monkey. I'm the country person
Peter, your voice is breaking. We can't hear you. We can't hear you, Peter.
Kenya, and I would like our webinar was, and I would want to. Okay, now you can hear me. Okay, so welcome to this webinar this afternoon. And as I was saying, our webinar is going to take 2 hours.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hello.
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 Hello. We can. Yes.
You can hear me.
Proceed.
Okay. Thank you very much. So welcome very much. I wanted to take you through the program of the day. We are going to start. It's about 2:03, and we want to start. And we are going to start with a welcome address from our national chairman for KeFAAS, that is Professor George Cheminingwa. Then from there, we are going to have remarks from Max Oloport from AFAS. Then from there, we are going to have agriculture extension in Kenya, just a nutshell from Madam Mary Kamau. Then we'll be able to have the nutrition agriculture nexus. We have Richard Miro, senior lecturer at Makerere University. Then we have Dr. Rashid Sulaiman, who will be able to take us through the global capacity need assessment methodology, and he will be able to give us more details about that. From there, we will be able to discuss the guiding questions for breakout sessions. We are going to have the breakout session to bring issues. So we have session 1, we will be looking at the enabling environment for nutrition sensitive agriculture. Session 2, we'll be looking at the organization, and session 3, we'll be looking at good lessons learned and good practices. Then from there, we are going to have plenary presentation, and we anticipate at the end, we have a summary from Professor Maina, who will be able to give us the way forward. So that is our program for today, and I would want again to welcome everybody. So at this time, I'll stop sharing and then invite our chairman, Professor Cheminingwa, to do his opening remarks. So, Professor, welcome.
Thank you very much, Peter. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. As already indicated, my name is George Ndiema Cheminingwa, the current chair of the board of the Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, Kenya, based in Nairobi. I am very pleased to welcome you all to this very important webinar on integrating nutrition into agricultural extension. This webinar brings together actors from agricultural extension and advisory services and nutrition experts. This is the ideal forum to address the triple burden of malnutrition, that is undernutrition, micronutrient malnutrition, and nutrition-related chronic diseases, which are pertinent problems facing Kenya's population today. As you may know, KeFAAS is a network organization whose core objective is to bring all players in agricultural extension under one framework. We envision a robust agricultural extension and advisory services in Kenya, and our mission is to improve delivery of agricultural extension and advisory services by harnessing and developing capacities like we are doing today in this very important webinar. KeFAAS endeavors to work with various extension service providers and community development workers to ensure that the livelihoods of the smallholder farmers are holistically improved. It is against this background that we have today partnered with AFAS, with the support of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, to build the capacities of various stakeholders on the Global Capacity Needs Assessment tool, the GCNA tool, developed by the Global Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, GFRAS, and FOO, and piloted in different parts of the world, including India, Malawi, and Cote d'Ivoire. It is my belief that this tool will be very helpful to the individuals, organizations, and policymakers represented. and the country at large. KeFAAS would like to thank FAO for facilitating the capacity building of its staff on GCNA and the rollout to other stakeholders. It is now my humble task to officially open the webinar and invite you to a very fruitful training and deliberations. Thank you so much. Asante sana, and may God bless all of us. Asante sana. Thank you, Peter. And thank you all the stakeholders.
Thank you very much, Professor. And thank you for welcoming us, all of us. So at this juncture, I would like to invite Max from AFAS to give us a close opening remark. So Max.
Thank
Max,
you.
are you in the house? Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Prof, for giving us a very good background and also the official opening. Asante sana. I want to re-echo to welcome everyone to this very important webinar. We are discussing about integration of nutrition in extension. As we all aware, that the role of extension has evolved. The role of extension is dynamic. Therefore, we from the extension fraternity must be able to should be able to embrace a lot of other things, definitely in the way we operate. This assignment, this short project is implemented by AFAS and KeFAAS as partners, of course, with the help and the support from the FAO headquarters. So we KeFAAS because of the experience that they have gained also, but also the team that they have, which is now well equipped to handle a lot of assignments in extension, and also most importantly, Kenya as a country where a lot of things have happened, including being one of the champion countries in policy development, and also the evolution now which is happening in Kenya. So there's a lot to learn from Kenya for the rest of the continent to be able to see those experiences. So I want to again say from AFAS side, for those of you who are not very familiar with AFAS, I think Peter will do this in the next series, but AFAS is the African organization which is responsible for extension and advisory services under the African Union, but especially enthroned within the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Program, CAADP. And we are working together with the other research institutions like FARA at the continental level, of course, with the sub-regional research organizations for East Africa, ASARECA, and other definitely. But at the national level, we operate through the country fora, which in Kenya definitely is KeFAAS. So KeFAAS is our legitimate representative. If there is anything we want to do in Kenya, we pass through KeFAAS. So I want to say, karibu sana, and we look forward to your input into this process. I want also to recognize my senior mentor, Dr. Rashid from India, the former chairman of GFRAS, who has really volunteered to rally with us in terms of ensuring that this assignment, this short project is well done, and we get products that will enable us as extension workers to address the issues also of nutrition in our work. So asante sana, nashukuru sana, good deliberations. Thank you, Peter, and the rest.
Thank you very much, Max. Thank you very much. With that, thank you, Madam America.
Thank you, Peter. And everybody, good afternoon. All protocols observed. I would like to take this opportunity to give a brief highlight on extension in Kenya having worked there for a long time and being in charge of the Extension Directorate in the ministry till 2016. As you all know that agriculture extension and advisory services actually involves all systems that facilitate access of farmers, their organization, the farming clientele, and other market actors to knowledge, information, improved technology, and other innovations so that they can be able to improve their production and productivity. Extension also facilitates interaction of these farmers with the partners such as the ones in research, the ones in education, the ones in agribusiness, and other technical fields that involve agriculture. In Kenya, like Max has highlighted, we have a national extension policy that was developed in 2012, and it was enacted by His Excellency the President. And the gist of the policy was actually to harmonize extension providers so that we can be able to move in one direction as far as extension is concerned. I would also say that as far as extension and advisory services is concerned in Kenya, the issue of nutrition is not very new. It's only that it was not actually very high rated, but we used to have nutrition, which was actually mainstreamed in the ministry's extension services, because we used to have officers who are trained in agriculture and home economics, who used to do the issues of nutrition, and especially in home management. And we used to collaborate with other actors, especially in the Ministry of Health, so that we can be able to extend the issues of nutrition in the mainstream of agriculture extension. In this, I would say that in Kenya, what we would say is that we would like to even upscale it even much more, although it's not a very new subject, but we need to actually give it prominence, because in 2013, we even did a manual on agri-nutrition so that we can be able to mainstream it to the trainers who are supposed to train in agriculture nutrition. And I would say that much more than before, COVID-2019, and it is occurrence as a pandemic in the whole world, it has actually taught us that nutrition is very important as far as our health is concerned. And we have seen how important some of the crops like garlic, ginger, lemon, and others have been used in this pandemic to be able to mitigate the issue of health. So I pray that during this webinar, we'll teach the issues that can promote nutrition extension in Kenya so that we can be able to move ahead. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Madam Mary. Thank you very much for giving us a snapshot of extension in Kenya. And now we would like to invite Professor Miro to be able to take us the nexus between agriculture and nutrition. So Professor Miro, okay. So Professor, welcome.
Good afternoon, colleagues, distinguished colleagues. My name is Richard Miro. I work at Makerere University and a member of UFAS board representing academia. And I'm delighted to be part of this to talk about advancing nutrition, sensitive agriculture in Africa, and the role of extension and advisory services. I'm very much aware that this meeting has gathered to really convince you the very important stakeholders to participate in updating and mainstreaming even deeply nutrition information in extension messaging, and also be very innovative and creative to create impact. But I'm going to focus and real quick on some key concepts: the global status of nutrition, including in Africa, emphasizing the gaps, the role of nutrition-sensitive agriculture, and also the role of nutrition-sensitive agriculture extension, which are not really new, but really to make a pitch and an appeal to all of us to open our minds and pull up our best innovative strategies to make this work. I think we know it, but we must make it work on the ground. And so certainly, I would hope that at the end of this webinar, you are sensitizing on the concept of nutrition-sensitive agriculture, but also there is interest and curiosity built up on what would be the best strategies to use. Of course, in addition to the assessment that's going to be done, and I'm sure most of you are going to be informers, that really you provide the information, the best practices, the gaps, the challenges that you're facing, so that FAO, AFAS, and KeFAAS can, together with you, can come up with very good ways forward. As you're aware, nutrition is the study of nutrients in food, and how the body uses these nutrients to improve, of course, and how they relate to diet, health, and disease prevention or disease occurrence. We are aware again that nutrients provide nourishment, very much so in terms of proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, fiber, water, okay? And that the lack of these means risk in developing certain health conditions, such as malnutrition. How about what nutrition-sensitive agriculture is? This is an approach that seeks to maximize agriculture's contribution to nutrition, so that there is the potential, the capacity to overcome malnutrition and micronutrient deficiencies. Nutrition-sensitive agriculture emphasizes nutritionally rich foods. It also emphasizes dietary diversity, so that there's a diversity of foods people across society can access and eat. It also emphasizes food fortification. Additionally, there is the targeting of poor households. As you see later, some of these households cannot eat a diverse food and diet because of lack of income to do so, even though they may be aware of it. There is also targeting of gender equity, which I'm sure you also know that this sometimes happens where our moms, our sisters sometimes forego, especially in traditional settings, good meals for the sake of the men or the boys and maybe the young ones. And yet they too need to be equally fed and nutritionally fed. It emphasizes providing nutrition education, continuous education and awareness creation, and links agriculture to sectors, other sectors that also have a role in this regard, such as education, health, social protection, pension, but a few. Just to bring to us what's going on, they say close to 1 billion people consume too few calories. Now remember, calories is just a source of energy. But you can imagine close to 1 billion people don't have enough food for enough energy. 1 billion. Then close to 3 billion don't have nutrients. Someone can help us unmute, rather mute that participant of ours. Okay. So close to 3 billion do not have sufficient nutrients. That means maybe they only have more of one nutrient than the other. It's not balanced. And over 2.5 billion consume just way too much. They have way too much. So we call this the triple burden of malnutrition, observed as stunting, wasting, and obesity. Of course, these have been compounded by the rising demand of food as a result of population growth and also changes in diets of many people, of course, as they grow affluent, but also some have been negative changes due to climate change and other environmental problems, including this pandemic of COVID-19. Just to emphasize again that in 2020, when COVID started, between 700 and 800 million people faced hunger. 2.4 billion did not have access to food just last year, 2.4 billion, okay? And just to say that health debts, again, are out of reach to around 3 billion people. Why? Because of costly health debts. As much as people know the diversity of food they need to eat, there is a cost attached because not everyone grows or keeps animals that are a source of this. So they have to access this from some shop or some market or somewhere. So they need money for that. And often these are costly. And of course, this is due to persistent levels of poverty and income inequality. So if you notice, as we come to approach this, there's also the multifacetedness of nutrition. And so the need again for us in AES to have an advocacy aspect to our efforts. Again, due to COVID-19, about 150 million children under 5 became stunted worldwide. 45 million experienced wasting, 40 million experienced overweight. They were feeding too much, and I think some of you must have observed this as we went through COVID. Then the prevalence rates of stunting, anemia, and hungry people in Africa, of course, are the highest in the world. And so we have to take this up and understand that as Africans, we have the greatest work to do to correct this situation. So the above gaps can be addressed by food system improvements, where healthy, diverse foods are accessible and desired by all segments of the population. Okay, if you notice the point here of accessibility, okay, of accessibility, but also where people gain an appreciation of the need of these diverse foods, irrespective of the segment of the population they represent. Again, agriculture and food systems impact nutrition. How? By influencing the quantity, the quality, and diversity of foods produced. Of course, they also influence the prices, purchasing power of producers, as well as the preferences and consumption choices. How about AES? Where can we come in and play a role? So we need, as AES actors, especially those of you who are in this meeting, who my colleagues from KeFAAS are going to approach, we need to get into encouraging farmers. We need to have a new message that encourages farmers to engage in increased production of diverse foods. And of course, we have to balance that with whether these foods are not only serve household needs, but also serve the market needs out there for those who don't grow these foods. Okay. We also need to encourage farmers to engage in identifying local and indigenous foods. And Mama Mary Kamau has mentioned that, and we've seen that increase in interest in indigenous foods and indigenous herbs and remedies, especially when we faced COVID. And so there is a window of opportunity for AES also to play a very active role in these areas as well. We also need to encourage the aspect of processing and preserving foods to extend their availability. We need to encourage the improved availability of nutrient-dense foods. You know, what are these to our farmers, both in the marketplace, but also play a role in advocating for reduced prices. We have a role, a very important role in gender equitable decision-making at the household, but also other levels decision-making that affect nutrition. Okay. So our involvement as AES actors, therefore, has gaps to address, including increasing awareness and understanding of linkages between agriculture and nutrition. That messaging needs to come out more sharply. Of course, agriculture is for nutrition, but not everyone has this healthy life despite the food that they grow. So we need to bring out that emphasis as AES actors. But what are the gaps as I get to the close? You may all appreciate a lack of capacity in terms of awareness, in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of even of approaches that we can use to engage the diversity of our clientele. We also have unclear organizational mandates, as you will watch when we engage you in the research process or capacity assessment process. We'll be interrogating about, does the organization emphasize a mandate that includes nutrition? Maybe it does not, and so there is no reason for you to work at it. Female inclusion is also an area, or women inclusion, or gender inclusion that we need to work at. The lack of mobility, of course, not being able to reach the unreached, but also the systemic challenges between agriculture and nutrition sectors. We need to address those. Then there's the issue now of integrating ICT in this effort. So, colleagues, I want to thank you again for the opportunity and trust that this webinar will really challenge you to be ready to engage with KeFAAS as they come around with you to find out what more they can do in improving nutrition-sensitive agriculture. Thank you so much, and you'll excuse me, I have another meeting, but I'll catch up with the outputs later. Asante, kwaheri.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Karibu sana. I can see you are now becoming a Kiswahili expert. So thank you very much, Professor. So quite a key important areas we have to consider. So at this time, I would like to invite Rashid Sulaiman, who will be able to take us through the GCNA methodology and really explain to us exactly how it works. So Rashid, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to see Mary and Max. Can you screen my presentation? You have that with you? My PPT? Who will be doing that? Peter?
Hello, Sylvia will be doing it in
You have maybe
yourself.
Sylvia, you might be having that, or in your view.
Yes, I have it. Let me.
Okay.
So you can't be introducing yourself.
No, I can do, but I think we need. Okay, it's there already. Okay, very good. Full screen, can you? Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think I just wanted to focus on, I think maybe to introduction, I'm based in India. I work with there's a Center for Research on Innovation and Science Policy here. And we also coordinate the sub-regional network in South Asia under the GCNA, which is called as the Agricultural Extension in South Asia. I think a year or so back, actually, I led this work for FAO and the GCNA in developing this methodology on assessing, or maybe it's about assessing capacity gaps in the area of integrating nutrition objectives into agricultural extension advisory services, programs, and policies. So this document has come out now; it is available. So it's a methodology. It is a methodology, but it is more than a methodology in terms of it also provides evidence on why extension should address nutrition and what are the different ways of doing it, and what are the how mechanisms, how we can identify the gaps in capacities at different levels. So this is what this methodology is about. Next slide. I think a lot we have discussed already. I think Professor Miro talked about the importance of nutrition sensitive agriculture and how extension advisory services development. So many of them have been trying to address the nutrition for quite some time. But increasingly, there is a lot of interest in also in using agriculture to address nutrition. And the reasons are because there's a lot of small farmers who are growing a lot of food, but they are insecure. Though even if they produce a lot of food, their awareness about consuming diverse food which are nutritious are not there. And there is a lot we could achieve in terms of by extension, because extension work very closely with the farmers and they can support nutrition. And we have seen there are several ways. One is the increasing food. So increasing food production, so it will increase income, but it's not always essential that higher income will lead to a better nutrition unless they understand. We can also help in terms of promoting diversification. So you grow a diverse set of products. We can also change their awareness about how different food groups give the kind of nutrition which the human body needs. So we can engage in a behavioral change communication about that. And also there is also interest in biofortification. So maybe promoting those varieties which are biofortified. So there are several ways in which extension can do it, but there are several gaps. Initially, many people thought it is only we need to train our extension agents in the area of nutrition, because in many cases in agricultural courses, nutrition is not that way addressed. It may be one or two courses, which is mostly talking about maybe what the different foods for different food groups have different types of nutrients, what has iron, and maybe what is the fat percentage, what is the carbohydrate, what is the protein, but very little emphasis on how do you communicate nutrition. So so nutrition has not been a major topic or even a minor topic in the conventional sense in the agricultural kind of a courses. So, but beyond that, there is a realization that it is not merely, there is a limit to how much you can get by training field extension agents, because there are several problems at the organizational level. I think Professor Miro was talking about the lack of a mandate. So if there is no mandate, even if you train your staff, you won't be able to do it. And then there are also at the enabling environment level, how much importance is given to addressing nutrition through agriculture. So I think there are several gaps at several levels. Next slide. So when we are challenged with developing this methodology, as I said before, because initially the discussion was whether we should, what are the gaps in knowledge, attitude, and skills at the field level personnel. But when we started getting into the review, we realized that the problems are not merely at the individual extension level. So we did this as usual. When you develop a methodology, you start with the review. So we try to look at what is the nutrition sensitive agriculture, what is the role of extension in promoting nutrition sensitive agriculture. Programs like GCNA, I think GCNA in 2012 itself brought out a publication on extension, how nutrition sensitive extension. And then there's a lot of work which has already gone by the Engineers program, which was concluded by the USA, or integrating gender and nutrition into extension advisory services. KeFAAS has done a lot of work on nutrition sensitive agriculture. So we looked at all these kind of a thing. We also try to understand what are the methods for assessing learning and capacity needs. And we also use the FAO's capacity development framework, where they look at capacity gaps at several levels, individual level, organizational level, as well as the enabling environment level. So this is how we developed this methodology. As I said before, this is the cover image of the methodology on the right side. You can see this document is already available. You can download it and see it. Next one. So the objectives of this methodology, in a sense, so we were trying to answer this question, because by using this methodology, we should be able to understand what are the constraints in integrating nutrition into extension advisory services. And if you are appointed as maybe an advisor, a nutrition, or maybe a nutrition officer at a country level, at a national level, assuming, so what is your first step, and how do you mainstream this kind of a nutrition into extension advisory service? So it should be useful for professionals like you and me who get into these kind of positions and are tasked with the job of addressing or integrating nutrition into advisory services. Next. So this methodology has three levels. So one, as I said before, one is the enabling environment level. So because first is we need to understand the kind of the policy institutional context. So what is the nutrition context in a country? Is nutrition a problem? Is it a seasonal issue? Some countries, when you have a a dry period when there is not enough food is produced. So nutrition becomes a serious issue at a season, at particular season. Sometimes it is a regional issue, maybe in the rain-fed regions, or maybe in the tribal or regions which are highly inaccessible. So in those regions, it's a problem. So it could be a location problem, or sometimes it could be a problem across everywhere. Sometimes it could be an obesity. Sometimes it's an undernutrition. So we need to first understand what is the nutrition context. Then what is the policy context? Because there could be a nutrition policy in a country, but sometimes it may not be it may be looking at only from a health and maybe woman and child development kind of a perspective. So it could be about maybe supplementary feeding, or it's an educational. So I think you try to provide supplementary feeding at the pre-primary level kind of a centers or in the schools, or sometimes it may be only a program only addresses the needs of maybe pregnant and lactating women. So we need to understand what the nutrition policy is going to say about it. And we also need to look at whether agricultural policy recognizes the importance of addressing nutrition through agricultural interventions. And if you have an extension policy, is the extension policy talking about addressing nutrition through agricultural intervention? So understand what is the kind of a policy context, how policy, different types of policies, maybe the rural development policy. Is there a recognition, and whether there are policy guidelines following or policy or program guidelines coming out of this kind of this policy? And the third is about the stakeholder mapping. Here we are trying to understand who is doing what in the area of nutrition, not merely nutrition sensitive agriculture, because we need to map the nutrition picture than only looking at what people are doing only in the nutrition sensitive agriculture. I will come to that. Another point is about the organizational capacities. In India, we have seen when we did this study, and when we talked to the extension officers at the state level, they said, we are all about increasing production, productivity, distribution of subsidies. Nutrition is not our mandate. This is something, so if you want to know about nutrition, don't come here. Just go and talk to the women and child development or the rural development and people. Because they said there's no mandate. It is not there in the pillars or maybe the mandate, organizational objectives. So it is not there. So it could be a problem at the mandate level, or maybe no. In many countries, as we all know, extension advisory services are understaffed and they have too many responsibilities. There are not enough people, vacancies are not filled. So we need to, if nutrition needs to be addressed, we need to make sure that at least there is a robust extension infrastructure. So we need to understand, or maybe it could be a funding kind of a problem. Capacity development initiatives are not there, because if you look at the training of trainers, or maybe the extension training centers are all about technical aspects related to crop production, which we have been seeing. It could be about integrated pest management, or maybe best practices in water management or horticulture production or weed management. So if you don't have modules, if you don't have trainers who are good in talking about or training people on nutrition, so we need to see whether organizational capacities are there. And another issue is about the partnerships. So what is the organizational culture? Are we working in silos and we don't work in partnership with other organizations? Then it becomes difficult to address the kind of nutrition partnerships. Then whether information communication materials, what are the other challenges? And the third is about looking at the individual capacities of, especially at the field level officers, whether they have a knowledge about nutrition. And second is about skills and expertise in terms of communicating nutrition. So that one level. And at another level, we also need to see at the senior middle officers, do they have the capacities to develop programs on nutrition, design new programs that address nutrition through agricultural interventions where advisory services play a great role. So these kind of capacities, which are, many of them are functional capacities, also we need to look at. So I think this is what we are trying to do. And next slide. So what we did, so we started doing a policy review. Can I have the next slide? So and also the mapping. So who is who in extension? What are they trying to do? So they're starting with that. Another is the organizational capacity assessments, where we go and talk to people, talk to organizations, talk to the head of the extension services, or maybe talk to the head of the Women and Child Development Department or the Health Department, and see who are the people who are addressing nutrition. They may be having grassroots level kind of functionaries. maybe addressing nutrition from a health perspective, but can we use them also to promote our messages, because they are already working on the ground with the communities, which are almost our community, because if you go to the rural areas, everybody are farmers. And so can we use some of their staff in terms of, if we train them, so we need to understand what are the challenges, is nutrition being, what type of training which they are going to get. And we also need to so we use key informant interviews, and we also want to use focus group discussions. And as gender plays an important role in addressing nutrition, so we need to understand from the programs which are targeted at women too, and we need to have separate focus group discussions to understand and identify the kind of gaps as well as the opportunities for maybe addressing nutrition. Next. So this is, we pilot tested this in 5 countries. I think it is Malawi, Cote d'Ivoire, Tajikistan, Chile, and in 1 state in India. Next slide. So, and some of the key findings which we got from this is that, one is, in general, nutrition is not a great priority for extension advisory services. That is very clear, that we have been seeing it. And but we have also seen there are many other actors involved in promoting nutrition at the community level. And as I said, health, women and child development, many of them have para workers, which are community-based knowledge workers dealing with a number of issues related to nutrition. So we need to understand what roles they play and how can we also bring them also in trying to address nutrition through agriculture. They are anyway addressing nutrition, but we try to give them a kind of an exposure and orientation in terms of how through agriculture also we will be able to address the issue of nutrition. Insufficient skill, knowledge, competence is an issue, as we all know, because our training in nutrition is not adequate. But then there are bigger issues. It's not merely their knowledge, skill, or attitude at the field level. There are organizational enabling environment issues which we need to address: policy, mandate, organizational capacities. And we need to strengthen. It is not about merely training or sensitizing our extension staff, but we also need to train other providers in the area of nutrition, so that we develop a small module for them, maybe a half-day program, a 1-day program, maybe a 2-day program, or trying to bring these kind of things into other organizations into their training programs. So I think there are several ways that we can address it. Next. And another thing is, we need to, as we said, we need to look at capacities at all the 3 levels. It will take a bit of a time to do it. And sometimes could be also issues, because we are also trying to understand what is being invested in the area of nutrition. So, but sometimes the availability of data become a problem. Sometimes the policy review we have been seeing, sometimes it takes more time, because you cannot simply Google it, because if it's not maybe in English or maybe in other common languages, it may not be there. And sometimes you may have to need a bit of a translation. So we need to find out what is, so for us, many of us, we have been seeing it took us about 3 to 6 months of struggle to get this lot of information. But then it also depends on the size of the country and the availability of documents. So there is nothing like a standard time up to complete this kind of a thing. So this GCNA provides methods, tools, and approaches, but also it gives a kind of a rationale on why we should do these things together, why collaboration partnerships are important. So I think I would encourage all of you to have a look at this methodology. And next slide. Maybe I think this is the last slide. So use the assessment guide to explore capacity gaps. Start with actor mapping. Understanding policy, nutrition context is important. Developing partnerships are important, because with the existing EAS providers in the agricultural space, we will not be able, and a lot of other programs which EAS is implementing and the general challenges, we alone will not be able to address the issue of nutrition sensitive agriculture. We need the help and support from other agencies and other organizations. There is a lot we could learn from if you can promote, understand what are the good practices. So this is something which KeFAAS as a network of all the providers, or maybe even AFAS. So you can always commission, you can request people to write about what are the good practices in addressing nutrition sensitive agriculture. So we can promote it at a higher level so people can learn about it. We definitely need to have working groups maybe, these different departments coming together, so that the policy working group or nutrition working group, which meets maybe once in 3 months, try to look at what we have done at the level of nutrition, and strengthening capacities at every level, including all organizations, is important. Next, I think that is my last slide. So these are references. The first one is about the methodology. The second one is a small brief talking about the links between agriculture and human nutrition. And there are a lot of other documents are available. I told you about the engineers program, the FAO has developed, GCFAAS has developed, even GCFAAS has a NELC, new extensions learning kit module on this. I think I'll stop here and thank you. That is my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rashid Sulaiman, for taking us through the GCNA methodology. I think that one in a nutshell, people are now clear about the methodology. Although we had very limited time, I believe there is more information which you could be able to share, and it's available where you have been able to share. Possibly, I don't know whether there is a quick one where you'd want to have a clarification. That's the participants. You could raise up your hand very quickly. I can give 1 or 2 persons, and then we can be able to proceed to the next session. So any concern, you can raise up your hand.
Any quick questions I can respond? But otherwise,
Yeah.
I need to, go ahead.
Any question?
Yes, we can. I think this presentation is with the organizers, so you can access that presentation.
Yeah, there is somebody we need to hear our current position in the country. Possibly that is why we are there, to be able to see how it works. That is the only one I can be able to see for now. A quick question before we release Rashid. He is all the way in India, and I'm sure it's a bit late in that country. Thank you very much. So it's
thanks. I will leave, and all my best wishes to all of you.
See any question? Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. So thank you very much, Rashid, for that. Have a good evening, I'm sure, good night. Thank you for offering yourself this late. I know India is late.
Okay.
So participants, thank you very much. I'm sure now we are clear with the GCNA methodology. And I would like now to go to the next session. And this is the section where we have got the breakout sessions. Here we will be able to look at, if somebody wanted to know what is the status in Kenya, and this is what we'll be able to discuss, and we'll be able to get it from the group based on our discussion. So the way we are going to go through the groups is that there will be a pop-up where you'll be able to select the group which you'll be going to. But in the meantime, I would like first to explain or to do a quick presentation on how we are going to handle this group activity. So let me do a quick presentation again. And here, I'm just sharing my slide. Here we are going to have 3 groups. And within this group, the first group, we are going to have group which is going to consider issues on the policy environment. And this one is, the way Rashid has presented it, is do we have a conducive policy environment to be able to promote a nutritional sensitive agriculture? So the areas we are going to look at are the policies on extension and advisory services, whether they are there and they adequately address the issue of nutrition. Are there nutrition-specific policies? Are there link between policies on nutrition and agriculture extension and advisory services? So here we're looking at guidelines on implementing nutrition into extension. We look at status of implementation of existing policy, whether we have got any audits, monitoring and evaluation of this implementation, what challenges have been encountered when we are doing this, and then we give the recommendation on opportunities to improve the policy environment, what new policies needs to be developed, and what existing policies need to be improved, and in what aspect. That one will be group 1. So those people who are interested in policy, there will be a pop-up where you'll be able to select that. Then we have two. Here we are looking at the issue of the organizations, because we have different organizations working on this space. So we are looking at whether the organizations are there organizations with the mandates for the extension and nutritional clearly defined. Organization represent different sectors, or we are looking at whether organizations are working in silos. Do the organizations have adequate capacity? So we'll be able to look at that. Adequate personnel with necessary capacities, able to access training and capacity building opportunity, and access to information. What of the issues of budgets and finances? Are there any model institutions with the best practices to learn from about nutrition sensitive agriculture? What are the coordinating mechanisms between different organizations, and what recommendations on opportunities to improve this capacity of the organization? So that one will be group number 2. And then we have group number 3, where we are looking at lessons learned and good practices. And here we are focusing more on the practitioners. Do practitioners have the necessary or basic knowledge in nutrition? Do they have adequate opportunities to improve their capacities and knowledge? To what extent do practitioners integrate nutrition into extension and advisory services? What are the sources of information on nutrition? Which organizations do we collaborate with? What good practices do they apply in integrating nutrition information in their extension messages? And what challenges are encountered in the day-to-day practice in integrating nutrition into extension service delivery? So what recommendations do we have? Now, these ones are very important because these ones are Kenya-specific aspects. So we are actually dealing with the Kenyan stakeholders here, and these are the issues we want you to address to be able to give us exactly how the decision is. So this, we only take about 30 minutes. So we are going to have the team readers. So the first team, we will have Alice in charge. That is where we have the policy. Then we have the second one. We have Professor, will be in charge, Professor Mina. That one is in charge of the organization. And then I'll be handling the practitioners to see how it works. So we are going to the breakout sessions, and I think I can stop sharing now, and then we can be guided by our ICT team on how we can be able to go to the next group. So there'll be pop-up which will be there, and you'll be able to see which group would we prefer. So Sylvia, can you take us through that?
Yes, thank you, Peter. I'll request my colleague Kenneth to bring out now the links on where we are going to join the teams.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. I'm opening the breakup sessions right now, so you'll be able to see which group you can join. We're requesting the rest of you who have not joined to please select a group to join.
You can scroll down the pop-up on the screen. You'll be able to see the groups. Then you can click join on the one that you're interested in. Kindly scroll down the bar on your right. You'll get the groups. Then you can join any.
Which one? We can't.
There's a bar on your right. Just scroll down. You see where there's number 13? There's a gray bar.
I can't see that one.
Which one would you? Okay, go Kenneth.
Okay, if
I would
you
like
can
to go
see-
to group 1, Sylvia.
Okay, we can assign you to group 1, Mary, just shortly.
Yeah.
Kindly let us know if anyone else has a challenge of joining, we can assist. Jane, are you okay, or I can assist you join? We also have Lindia, Albert, Amariat, Brian.
Perhaps they're not near their computers.
Okay, maybe you can move them to any group.
Okay, we can move them evenly, yeah. Just... Okay.
Okay, thank you, Kenneth. So
Okay,
after
you
that,
can
after 30
you can
minutes,
join any. Sorry,
okay.
after 30 minutes?
They'll be taken back to the plenary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can join in a group you want to monitor.
Oh, okay. Let me join any.
Okay. You can monitor. You can go through any of the groups so you can monitor the progress because you're composed now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Kamau. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that contribution.
Can you hear me?
We move on now to the recording in progress question. And
Sorry.
that is on, are there policies on nutrition?
Hello?
Do we have policies on nutrition?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Alish, I think, I don't know, you get me well?
Yes, I can.
I think we
Hello. For all who have just joined, please feel free to join in the breakout room. There are 3 groups. You select the one you want to join.
So I think everybody is back. We have had our very good deliberation from our group, and a great number of issues have come out, and I'm sure all the groups have done the same. So at this moment in time, because we have very limited time, actually we have about 20 minutes, I would like to give each group 10 minutes to be able to give us what we have been able to deliberate on. And then from there, they will be able to give us a more comprehensive report, which you'll be able to share with all the participants. So we start with group number 1 on policy. So group number 1, Alice, you can invite your rapporteur.
Thank you, Peter. We had good deliberations on policy. That is the enabling environment. And our rapporteur was Steve. Steve, welcome. I don't know whether he's able to be back. Yes.
Yes, I'm back. I'm sure I have not typed anything, but I think I'm just going to read them out. Is that okay?
That one is okay.
Yes. Okay. I think our issue number 1 was on policies. Are there existing policies in nutrition? And I think we came up with some policies. We said there are some policies, like we have the National Agriculture Sector Policy, NASEP, which was enacted in 2012. Though the policy was not so much oriented to nutrition, but it was on the general extension aspect. And we also realized that there are other issues. Maybe we could consider today whether it is compliant with the devolution strategies. And then we went for number 2 on the aspect, and I think I said there are those ones. The existing policies include the National Food and Nutrition Security. Then we have also the Agri-Nutrition Strategy 2020 and to 2025. So basically what we are saying is, yes, there are those frameworks are in place. There are frameworks which are in place and which can guide the nutrition sensitive agriculture today. We were also looking at the linkages. Are there linkages between policies? And the answer is yes, to some extent. There are linkages between the extension and other policies. For example, we have the linkages between agri-nutrition, between the Ministry of Health and Agriculture, both at the national and the county levels. It came out very prominent that at the county levels, the collaboration or the linkages here are strong, especially on the nutrition sensitive and nutrition specific aspects, and that's towards kitchen gardening, multi-garden stories, and many others. We also have the agriculture sector transformation and growth strategy, which actually brings together the extension and the nutrition part of packages to be implemented at the county levels. Then section B was on guidelines on nutrition. on guidelines on integrating nutrition into EAS, and they do exist. So the status of implementation of existing policies, that is, if there are any audits, monitoring, and evaluation. I think we discussed that after devolution, not much of this was done. But however, there is the agri-nutrition manual for trainers, which exists and which can be adopted and probably used by extension agents, especially at the county at the county level. And we also looked into the challenges in the implementation of the current nutrition sensitive agriculture. And one of the major issues which came out is that there is inadequacy in the capacities of extension staff, especially at the county levels. We also have, number two, challenges in the sustainability, because today, most of the nutrition sensitive agricultural extension activities are being driven by donors. And we have realized that immediately the donor pulls out, then that system dies off. So one of the biggest challenges is lack of sustainability, because probably we have not strengthened the local institutions that can actually support and sustain the nutrition sensitive agriculture. Number three, in terms of challenges, because I think this is the main part of it, which can drive us into how best we can mitigate. We also have currently an aging agriculture extension staff, and I mean coupled with shortages. Most of the staff, maybe in even 1 or 2 years coming, we will really have very critical shortages of this staff because we have been poor in succession management. And that's now the impact I think we are realizing. And so the other issue is opportunities to improve policy environment and what new policies to be developed. I think even without going further for developing new policies, we already have frameworks which we can work on. All what is needed is to integrate them, to integrate the food policy, the nutrition, and all those, and make them a framework that is workable across the whole country. So I think if we strengthen our frameworks, especially the agriculture sector forums, the agriculture sector forums, sectors are there. Even today,
hello, we are losing you.
this can be strengthened, then we have great opportunities in terms of those frameworks to take the nutrition sensitive agriculture to a very high level. So what existing the existing policies which need to be improved is, I think there is need now to improve the current one just to accommodate more into sort of a food system.
Hello. Mzuri.
Into sort of a food system.
Niko kwa Zoom meeting kidogo.
I don't know. Am I clear?
Kwa Zoom meeting uko wapi?
Am I clear or somebody is?
You are clear, but there was some
there is interruption.
Yes.
Interruption
So
from yes.
Unaenda wapi?
If you can you be able to mute our participants?
Yes, yeah.
Kutoka Mombasa.
So I think,
okay.
Sorry,
Sasa
so I think
niambie.
Today, if we look even into probably, I think somebody is talking. I don't know, probably needs to be muted somewhere.
Sylvia, can you be able to mute Tobias?
Tobias, yes, Tobias.
Okay, Mata, you can generalize of time.
Yes. So I think what I am summarizing by saying that even today, maybe in central Kenya and many other parts of this country, those areas where our small scale farmers were practicing cash crops and things like that, coffee in medium areas. Today you see them uproot and plant bananas, plant other horticultural crops. These are some of the opportunities because already the farmer is realizing the need to go into that. And there must be a reason why they are driving it to that line, because the nutrition is something you require, I think, every day. So I think in my summary, to summarize everything, I'm saying, yes, there are policies. In my conclusion, there are policies that can guide us. The frameworks are already, the frameworks are there, and there are linkages, but what needs to be strengthened much is the linkages. I think our concern here now is the linkages between the national and the county extension services is a bit poor, and this is what needs to be strengthened a lot. And one of our partners also suggested that when we want to look into national, into the nutrition sensitive agriculture, then we must look into what other issues do we look into, like the soil testing part of it, like other food system part of it. You can grow banana as a nutrition, because we understand very well today, if you have hypertension and you go to the hospital, you will be told, go and take a banana. And simply because bananas are rich in vitamin K. You see, these are some of the things. But at the same time, banana becomes a fodder crop. You can feed with your livestock and so forth. It can become a manure also. So I think the gap is, how do we integrate these so that we have a complementary food system, but that primarily supports the nutrition sensitive agriculture. So I think there is need, the group have said that there is need to get more collaboration between, especially between the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Agriculture. You remember previously nutrition was in health, but now it's more or less now a joint work between the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of agriculture. And I think if we do that and look into the challenges that we said, then I think that is what the group have said. But I want, before you close, I want to I want to request my group members, if you have an issue, probably because we were rushing to write down, maybe I have not taken note of something important which you feel we need to bring it out, you can add. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Steve Machan. So the group members, Alice, with your team, you are fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Steve. Steve has brought out the issues very clearly. I don't think there is so much to add, other than to say that we found that a lot was being done at the national level, but because of devolution, there are still issues on how to bring the linkages, the implementation bit of it, and also to interpret the national policies and merge them with what the county is doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Group 1. I'll clap for you. Of course, you'll be there. So let's have Group 2, Professor, with your team.
Yes, Peter, we had very good deliberations. Our rapporteur was Aphrodisia, so she will make the presentation.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, everyone. We had a successful discussion, and our group was looking at whether the organization have to date on extension and distribution, whether we have the adequate capacity in terms of funding, training, whether there are some collaborations or coordination mechanisms between different actors, and some of the recommendation opportunities which have been, some of the recommendations which can be made from the discussion. On organization mandates, yes, the organization are there and they have mandates, but what has come up here is that the organizations are working separately. Especially we have the national government where they are doing some issues on extension policy review, but they tend to do it alone. They are also developing some manual on the process of the extension and administration. Though they have said that they are coordinating with some members from academia and the UNICEF. But when we talk of the nutrition issue, there are some trends which are just loose. They are not tied up because some felt that the whole issue falls under the agriculture. So they are not sure whether it is the extension which comes first or the nutrition. But they have gone ahead to say that we need to start from probably production, what we produce, how we produce, that the nutrition comes in, advice on maybe the proportion we should eat, because they claimed that someone who is growing maize without the help of the nutritionist will only feed on maize without knowing that there is something like the balanced diet. Then the issue of the capacity. This one has come out very clear that it is very low. There is a huge issue which needs to be taken upon here, because I think that the resources for staff not enough. The people are not enough. Funding is not enough. Then the knowledge, especially because we have the devolution. there is no, people are not well trained on extension and nutrition issues. About the coordination, yes, to some extent there are some coordination because some people from the national government, they have talked of, they are developing some food and nutrition systems which they are taking to the farmers. Though there are problems of the means of travel and the personnel, but generally the issue of coordination has come out very clearly that the coordination is not well done. Then the opportunities, yes, there are some opportunities which exist because we cannot just complain of we do not have some coordination mechanism. Like now someone from the national government has talked of they are developing extension policy view plus food and nutrition system. And before we even complain, I think we should, they have talked of, we should first try to improve what we have before bringing up the new coordination mechanisms, like those two from the maybe national government can be looked upon. Then the recommendations is that the members still felt that we should have a follow-up with the different stakeholders, or we should organize a workshop again and call the different people and know where we have gone before. We should also, especially on the county government, we should have an established agri-nutrition unit because they are talking of the county government. Yes, we have the people who are in extension and those who are in nutrition, but there's not that link between those two people. I think from our discussion, Peter, that's what we had, unless someone else wants to add on something.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, Professor.
Yeah, Peter, I just want to confirm that that's really just about the gist of the discussions we had in our room. It was really very lively, I would say. But in summary, as has been said, organizations are there, clearly identifiable with the mandates of extension and nutrition. They have some capacity issues. They are there, they are doing some things, but clearly identifiable capacity issues are recognized. They are also working in coordination. There is a coordination mechanism, and certainly I think it's important that we be aware of that. We can plug into that because it has a very broad representation of organizations from government, civil society, NGOs, the UN. They are there. I think one of the topics we did not quite exhaust is the placement of the county, because they are quite central to this, seeing as it is they are managing agriculture, health, and related areas or departments. So as has been said, at the end of the day, we concluded that we will need another forum. We couldn't exhaust the issues here. We will need another forum, possibly where we are facing each other face to face. We get the people who are there and in this meeting, and I hope you will be able to take that up. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. That one is very critical because it will be able to map the way we can be able to move forward. I know even from group one, they talked about the donor-driven nutrition sensitive agriculture, and we need to have this one institutionalized and we can take it up. So Tobias, you can be able to mute. Tobias, you can be able to mute. I would want to request participants to give us about 10 minutes. We anticipated to close at 4, but group 3 had not presented. So we can be able to present and have the way forward with you there. So I was in charge of group 3, and we had very good deliberations where we are looking at the lessons learned and good practices at the individual level. And my rapporteur was Maseboro. I would like to invite Maseboro to give us a quick presentation.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for this opportunity, Peter, to present on behalf of Group 3. We were looking at issues of integrating nutrition into extension, where we were looking at what are the best practices at the grassroots level when it comes to making extension and agriculture nutrition sensitive. We looked at 5 key areas. That is the issue of what gaps exist in terms of knowledge and skills, in terms of the issues of good practices and the challenges and the sources of information when it comes to issues of nutrition and extension and how that is integrated. Quickly, I think there was consensus within the group that there is capacity gaps among the extension and agricultural advisory service providers in terms of issues of nutrition. And what was interesting is that we could actually even be able to pick some of the capacity gaps. And specifically, there was the issue of how do the extension agents really understand the link between nutrition and health? Are we able to particularly even state the nutrition value of the different agricultural products? And then in terms of the nutrition and health indicators, are they very clear to us? Do we understand them? How can we even measure them? And then there was also the issue of how do we also even link issues of crop management with nutrition? For instance, when a crop is possibly infested by pests and diseases, does its nutrition value decline? And even when it comes to issues of the process of controlling for pests and diseases, what is the implication of that and on nutrition? And what came out clearly is that there is disconnect between those who are able to actually address those capacity gaps and the institutions that are particularly offering this extension at the grassroots. Because at the university, we could see, yes, there is capacity to offer training in nutrition and extension, but when it comes to the people on the ground offering these extension services that should be nutrition sensitive, there is that gap. So we identified that disconnect, and it is important that that is also addressed. The other issue that came out is the issue of the shortage of extension service providers. In terms of personnel, that's a big issue across board that needs also to be looked into. There's also the issue of the evolution of extension from before devolution, and now we have devolution, and it seems as if issues of agri-nutrition have been negated. When it comes to the good practices and recommendations, we learned of how we could leverage on ICT in terms of developing nutrition content and even disseminating it. There are people out there or organizations out there that have actually been able to use ICT to do that. And they are reaching many more people than possibly what physical extension service provision would be able to achieve. Then, of course, partnerships were identified as being critical in scaling up nutrition sensitive extension. Alone as an institution or an organization or as an individual, it is not possible to holistically address the issues of nutrition, and therefore partnerships are critical. And then we also identified the need to prioritize consumers. When we look at the value chain approach, can we start with the consumers? Because health issues have become key and critical, and people are aware of this. And therefore, it is important that we start with the consumers and then we move along across the value chain and address the needs of the consumers all along. And then, of course, we identified the field days. These were there before, and they were actually an opportunity to holistically link production with nutrition, something that possibly needs to be thought about. Also, the issue of kitchen gardens in promoting nutrient-dense food at household level came out as a good practice that was there before, but at the moment, possibly the promotion could be low, and that's something that could be picked up and taken up to ensure nutrition at the household level. Then, of course, where there is political goodwill, we were able to identify that it is easy to integrate nutrition into extension and even upscale nutrition interventions in agriculture. And then, of course, the issue of stakeholders coordination through multi-stakeholder forums that bring together nutritionists and agriculturalists together was identified as a good practice that possibly also needs to be scaled up so that we can link the two together and have agriculture and nutrition people speak together, talk together, and work together on issues of nutrition. And then, of course, in terms of recommendations, we are looking at retraining retraining or integrating nutrition into extension education. This is particularly at the university level. Can we see that graduates who are coming out of there with extension or as extension agents are being trained on issues of nutrition and not just issues of production? Then, of course, there is need to scale up partnerships or build partnerships and networks between the training institutions or the education institutions and the organizations offering extension. And this is in line with the disconnect that I talked about. Then we also need to rethink the role of the home economics. I think it was clear from our discussion that they played a very critical role in ensuring that nutrition is integrated into extension, but however, that role has since been it's no longer there. Then, of course, we also need to map and align agriculture production. And this is where we can actually be able to tell in this place we should be producing this particular type of food because we feel that there are deficiencies in terms of nutrition on ABCD. And therefore, we could be able to actually guide on how agriculture could be mapped to address such nutrition deficiencies. And then, of course, there's the issue of the mandate of the extension service providers to address nutrition. Possibly we need to think of extending that so that nutrition can also become part of their deliverable in terms of their role. And then, of course, the holistic approach in addressing nutrition issues, and these I alluded to when I talked of starting with the consumer. Can we see all nutrition issues addressed all along the entire value chain from pre-production all the way to consumption? And then, of course, there's the targeted informational dissemination. And here we were looking at the possibility of having information disseminated based on the needs of the end users of this information. For instance, women may require specific type of information on nutrition. Can we target them with that specific information? When it comes to other vulnerable groups, the elderly, the invalids, and all that, can we have targeted information dissemination to address their specific needs? And of course, there was the issue of the nutrition sensitive project. And this is where we need to integrate issues of nutrition into all our agriculture projects that are possibly being thought about or currently being implemented. And then, of course, we appreciated that there's the will and appreciation of nutrition by the end users, but this is something that we possibly need to interrogate further and see whether does that will really exist, because if we are to reach them with nutrition information, they must be willing also to accept that information and also make use of it. So that is what we were able to discuss as group 3. Maybe if I left out something, any member of the group could come in and also add on to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mercy. You have really captured almost everything. I was also a member of the group. So I would like to give the members of the group, in case anything was left, 1 minute to just say what was left. Any member of the group? Yeah, I think what was put a bit of emphasis also is that we need to incorporate nutrition within the agriculture extension curriculum within the university, because now it is holistic. So it means we need to look at the university and other training institution and see how we can be able to incorporate nutrition as a package. Because before we had somebody who was specifically trained for nutrition as a home economics, but now after devolution, they have been sent to any offices. So it means we don't have that repository of the issue of extension of nutrition. So I think that is what we can be able to add there. And I'm sure we will be able to finalize and have the report, which we'll be able to share with all the participants. And I can see we have started a very good discourse, and we'll be able to go far within this discourse. So thank you very much, Mercy. I can see Mary is raising her hand. Yeah, Mary, let's give you an opportunity to, okay, we have about, yeah, almost, we are past with 3 minutes, but take 2 minutes, then we can be able to invite Professor to close for us. So Mary.
Yeah, thank you, Buena Peter. Mine is just an addition. I saw something like revitalizing the 4K Club recently on the media in the ministry, and it was really supported by even His Excellency. And I was thinking that we can calculate the issue of nutrition even at that small level in the 4K clubs and in the schools. And I think it's a good opportunity. Just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our group, that group can be able to capture that point, Mercy, when we are doing the report. So at this time, I would like to invite Professor Maina to be able to give us a wrap up and the way forward. So Professor, before Professor, I can see Jane Wabogo. Let me give Jane an opportunity. So Jane, Karibu, you can unmute yourself.
Sorry, Peter, I've been missing because I had a challenge on my communication. I just want to add, I'm glad that we are discussing nutrition in agriculture, but I just want to add one thing, that we have agri-nutrition in service curriculum at our Kenya School of Agriculture, just as an addition, because I found it has been left out. We'll discuss more as we continue. This is a great discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jane. I know you have that project. I think we need now to start seeing how we can be able to strengthen this to be able to reach more people. And that is true, you'll be able to form part of our way forward. So thank you. So Professor, let me invite you to be able to take us to the next level as we go towards conclusion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter. And thank you for this opportunity. I'll just take 2 minutes, not much to say. A lot has been said, and I want to appreciate the many insights that we have been able to get from our interactions today, starting from the opening sessions until now, the presentations we've gone through, the 3 breakout sessions, and the reports from the rapporteurs. I think certainly we can appreciate there is great wealth, experience, enthusiasm from amongst the participants and the different organizations represented here. And this one we very much appreciate. So according to the plan, because certainly we have received a lot of information today, but we also recognize there are many organizations and stakeholders who are working within the extension and nutrition space that were not able to participate in this webinar today. So in the next steps, we would like also to identify these other actors and reach out to them to get also their insight, their experiences. They can share what initiatives are ongoing. One of the terms used in the session I was in is leave no one behind, and we also don't want to be left behind. So we'll reach out to them. The other thing is, a lot has been said and learned today, but clearly seeing we also have gaps in the data or in the information available. Even from what we have heard from the participants on this platform today, we need to fill some data gaps. Personally, there are some of the people who are in the session. I feel really I would like to go back and continue with the discussion to complete the story or at least take it further. So we will also be coming back to you as key informants and as participants in this session today, perhaps with a little bit more elaborate tool to find out more information. So please anticipate some follow-up on this from you. We hope it will be more precise so that we don't repeat what you have already informed us today. I thank you so much. The expectation is this, because today we have already identified where the shoe is pinching us in terms of extension and nutrition. And I think as responsible people in this country, we want to go further and see how we can propose or provide solutions. There are already ongoing initiatives. That's very, very clear. Many organizations, the government and others are doing things. And if we do anything, we should only add value to what is going on. We don't want to either start a different initiative, either for coordination or whatever other mechanism. We just like to be of value to what is going on. So it is the expectation of AFAS working with FAO, and we hope going forward there will be a link to the other initiative going on in Kenya with FAO involvement to also look at what action plans can be developed for both short-term, or long-term. And as I learned today, there is already an ongoing initiative to develop a training manual, and hopefully we can contribute or at least support and boost that effort as we go forward. And hopefully within the coming days, we will at least move to start improving the agenda of this meeting today, and that is to integrate nutrition into extension and advisory services. I want to thank you very much, Peter, and appreciate everyone's effort and input into today's session. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Professor. I would like to just give 1 minute to Tobias to greet us, because Tobias is telling me the speaker has worked at the last minute. Tobias, did you have a point?
Yes, Peter. Finally, I managed to rectify the problem I had. But to me, it was a very good meeting. And what I could pick from what all the speakers said was to have a holistic approach of having a close collaboration and integration of production, nutrition, and extension nexus. We need to have that nexus to have a one-stop shop for the dissemination of the nutrition and extension programs.
Thank you very much, Tobias.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, at least I have given you the opportunity, and at least now your mic is working. So at this moment in time, I want to thank everybody. And because my senior, Madam Mary Kamau, is here, I'd like to invite her to officially close for us, and then we can be able to leave. So Mary Kamau.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bwana Mwangi. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of us for the contributions you have actually made so that we can be able to have a vibrant extension agri-nutrition in Kenya. I'm sure we have had very good lessons and very good proposals on what we can do so that we can be able to improve on what we have. I may say that Kenya is a great country, and we have been ahead of very many countries as far as agriculture and agriculture extension is concerned. We do know there was a hitch maybe when devolution came on board, but we still, all is not lost. All what we had built in place, we continue. We pray that it will continue benefiting the farmers, so that it can be they can be able to improve the production and nutrition at large. So I would like to thank all of you for your deliberations, and we hope to meet soon so that we can move this country ahead. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether Sylvia will be able to take a picture.
Yes, I can. If I can, you should put on your camera.
We put on our cameras, whoever is there. And then, yeah. You tell us when you are done. Is done?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a blessed evening. Mbarikiwe sana.
Santeni, kwaherini.
Kwaherini.
Heri, thank you.
Kwaherini.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good to see Mary. Good to see Mary.
Yeah, bye. See you.
Hi. I can see you, Kilimo people there.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Nice to see you, Madam Kamau.
How have you been?
Fine,
Yes.
madam. Yes, we talk.
Yeah, we are good.
Yeah, thank you.
Then
Yes,
I can
Karen.
see Bwana Olali there.
Yes.
Usalimie wengine.
Yes, madam.
Salimia wengine, madam. Yeah. Still fit.
Bwana Machani from Isiolo.
Ndio, madam. Salamia
Bye.
wote. My director.
Thank you.
Asante
Madam, thank
sana.
you.
Thank you too. Bye.